Good evening. This is Dee of H&D Abroad. I am here with my sisters again. We're considering this a part two. So if you were not with us before, we talked about crying in paradise. I will have that video linked below in the description. But on this channel, we talk about moving abroad. But on Thursdays, I center sister conversations and brought my new therapy girlfriends back. They said yes to digging a little deeper into what it takes. What do I have to tap within me to reach out and develop friendships and connections in a safe way, in a way that really enhances the move abroad experience, the growing more graceful. I won't say going gray, but more graceful. So, and I think it is for me. You all have seen on this channel that I've talked about being socially awkward and having on my vision board friendship. That I did not plan that. It just kind of surfaced as I was doing the vision board exercise, and how abundant my life has become because of the intention toward making connections with folks. So if that is interesting to you, we invite you to like this video, subscribe to our channel. So I'm always going live about women's topics, especially on Thursday. So I'm going to go ahead and say hello to Tori and to Dr. Erica again. If you are joining us, make sure you say hello in the chat, that we greet each other in the sisterhood. My sister Sabangale is in the chat. She was probably the first tier of my friendship experiment. So I'm really glad that she's in the chat to keep me honest. But yeah, those of you who are watching, are joining, we really appreciate you doing that. So say hello in the chat. So Dr. Erica, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Tori, and then we're going to dive right into today's topic.
Thank you. Hi, Dee. Hi, Tori. It's good to see y'all again. I am Dr. Erica Wilkins, licensed marriage and family therapist and coach. I have a particular interest for travelers, for expats, nomads. I have been a traveler for about 30 years now. I just had a big birthday. And so I'm like, okay, it feels like it's been 10 years, it's been 30 years. And so I really am looking forward to digging into this topic. Thanks for having me again, Dee.
Hi, everyone. I am Tori Prophet, licensed marriage and family therapist. Thank you, Dee, for having us back. It was so much fun last time. So I am on my own freedom journey, and kind of related to today's topic, I've also created a community for women because I recognize that need for connection and my own need to create a container around that makes it feel safe. And so maybe we'll dive into how you can do that too. But thanks for having me again.
Okay, so I promised we were going to dive right in. Let's talk about social connection. That we'll keep it general, and then because I think friends are just one category of social connection. Do we have to be deep to have a social connection? Do we have to have friends? Is that the best vehicle for entering social connections? And if they aren't, like, what's the plethora of that? Because there are a lot of reasons why people may or may not be open or comfortable diving into friendship.
Sure. One thing that really opened my eyes to these different kind of hues of connection, friendship being one, acquaintanceship being another, is a book called Frientimacy by someone named Shasta Nelson. And so I don't remember all the categories that she enumerated in her book, but it became clear to me there are all these different levels of friendships, of connections, and sometimes we go looking in the wrong place for the wrong type, and so sometimes it doesn't have to be that deep, Dee, like you said, and we can end up feeling some type of way if that's what we think we should have in every connection.
Yes, Tori, I totally agree. And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad we're starting here because as I got your note about what we were going to talk about this week, I was like, I don't know, I got some radical ideas about this whole friendship thing. So if I use the analogy of dating someone, have you ever dated someone and like from the first 5 minutes, that they had decided that you were the one? And you were like, whoa, what's happening here? Like, you could be a really cool person, but I'm uncomfortable because I feel like you're like, have the foot on the gas pedal of where we're going with this. And so, what I often find myself saying to clients and to my friends and how I think about friendship is similarly that like, as you navigate the world, it can set up some weird kind of social traps, I'm gonna call them, to like meet anyone in this world and have designs on like how they're gonna fit into your life. I think of the term friendship as like, to me, it's weighty. It's almost like family. To me, it's like chosen family. And there are only a few people in the world that are that to me, like a few cherished people that are that to me. But there are many other people, to talk about the different categories that Tori just talked about. There are many people that are in those other categories, right? And as I travel, and as I talk to people about their experiences of traveling, it's like, can your cup be filled up without like going into new settings saying, okay, where are my people? You will be my people. You are my community. You are my village. But maybe there's other ways to get other needs met without looking for that heavy weight of friendship.
Totally agree. And the reason why I love this, and I'm not sure, this is what resonated from the last conversation for me. Tori said, you may be mismatched in trying to share something that is personally inspiring for you, the move abroad process, with people that are not ready to receive or champion or celebrate you. And so making that match, knowing where the different groups of people are that are part of your tribe, and matching how you share or where you receive support or invest yourself into can present itself as, is it worth it? Do I really need friendships? And as I started going deeper within my own personal journey, the title says a healing first approach. I had to realize that I felt there are some things that I brought forward in therapy. Y'all go back. Y'all are good about going back to childhood. You guys are going back, helping us to see experience-wise why we choose who we bring closer to us. So some of us are navigating a little bit of trauma. If we're looking at, I know that there are reasons why I should make connection, friendships more of a priority than I have in the past. I'm thinking, listening to many Black women that are leaving the US are saying, I'm leaving behind family, friend groups. I will be out here by myself, aging by myself. What do I need to do to bridge the gap so that I don't want to say alone. You don't develop friends so that you're not alone. They are to be an enhancement to you. But like, wherever I go, I want my people. I want to have a place where my people are. Do you get where I'm going, or you don't get where I'm going?
So is it, I want to make sure I get where you're going. Is it to make sure that as you travel that you're not isolated?
Isolation, loneliness, yes, can be a part of that. That may become evident. Where I started was healing within myself. I had to identify what was a barrier to why developing friendships might be a struggle.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep bringing it back to the dating analogy that I started with, because I think that to date in a healthy way, to relationship, like romantic relationship in a healthy way, requires so much like comfort and peace and joy within yourself before you get to that person. And I think it's the same with like whether it's associates or acquaintances or friendships, that like starting with before you even meet the folks that'll stop you from being isolated or lonely, or I think it is like developing this sense of joy, like internal joy and peace. Because I think that, again, similar to like when you are open to dating or are open to an intimate partner for a new intimate partner, I think people can suss out like if you are joyful, if you are peaceful, if you are satisfied. And I think that people are attracted to that naturally. I think that there's a way that we like emanate that energy of like openness to the world, comfort within ourselves. And I think that's naturally attractive, whether it's for a relationship or whether it's for friendship. I think that automatically moves people towards you.
So do you think, I don't know if we want to go this direction, but what came up for me while you were saying that, Dr. Erica, is, do you think the opposite is true then? When we are not happy, when we are discontent and not joyful, maybe we attract those kind of relationships that I'm seeing, one of the comments, right? Being in this country, being paranoid about close friendships. If we're here and we're discontent, does that have the same effect?
I think if we travel, and I have seen this, if we travel, bringing our stuff into this new beautiful setting that we might find ourselves in, there's a way that it can become like a veil through which we even see that beautiful setting, or see the people in that setting, see ourselves in that setting. I have met fellow travelers that like, it could be 90 people in a room, and this one person comes in and is like, oh, I just don't like it here. It's horrible here. And we're all like, wait, what's going on? There's 90 of us in this room. And I think that that actually might not just have people not be attracted to you, but the people that are like attracted to you, if you're in that state, can be people that end up, to Dee's point, furthering some of the trauma that you've experienced, right? Like that are attracted to your energy for a reason. I mean, I think I said the last time, but I really, when I think about traveling, I really stick to the adage of wherever you go, there you are. And so there is no like magical, mythical thing, location in this world that has you, like enables you to not have to confront your own stuff.
Right. True. And you know why that's true is because relationships are a mirror, right? And so whenever you look in the mirror, that's you, right? And so we're in these relationships, it becomes that mirror to that inner landscape. And if you're not aware that that's what's going on, then everything's going to always just be through that veil that you talked about.
Colored by it.
You talked about energy, Dr. Erica, and I live at an energy level. I remember our daughter, I was just like, how does she know that those people, and I'm like, because she can feel it. She could literally feel that this was an open, welcoming person. And if I am closed or the law of attraction is in the friendship space as well. It sounds like you guys are affirming. And that even when we're in a different place, that we're going to bring those same coping skills, those same, the same way that we have embraced the world before. I'm just changing my location. I'm the same person. So if I'm wanting, let's see, what is it? The definition of chaos is doing the same thing and expecting something different. Let's say I'm a person and I've noticed a pattern with me. My pattern is I'm super excited about this, about being around a group of people or a person. And eventually there's a burnout. We hit a wall and I'm like, I don't want them no more. I don't need them anymore. If I'm recognizing it, how do I address it? If I recognize I've been disappointed, hurt, unmet expectations, whatever it is that has held me back friendship-wise from a behavioral pattern, because we're going to get into personalities too, but from a behavior pattern, how do I start to change? How do I start to say, okay, I want to be someone that people want to develop connection with? Tori?
You went hard, Dee. That's a huge, huge question. I mean, I don't know. Are people asking that question? Are people assuming the answer already? I mean, I don't know. I don't know about other people or if they walk around wondering, am I a person people want to be in connection with? Maybe they do. But I think in any type of relationship, there comes a point where we have to not only look at what the other person's doing, we have to look at our role in the dance. And if you've been in survival mode a long time, you may not be doing that kind of introspection. I don't know. It can be so easy to look at the other person and say, well, they're not there for me enough. Right? Or they want too much of me, and then fail to then ask yourself, well, am I there for myself enough? Right? Or do I know how to set a boundary if I feel like they're asking too much? I mean, I think it's being in a relationship and being in community with others could help you develop that type of awareness, you know, help call that out. We can't see ourselves as fully, right? Just on our own. And so I think that is the gift of a relationship. If you're going to run from that because it hurts, because it's not, yeah, that doesn't always feel good. If you're going to run from that, then you do miss out on the gift of being refined in that way. I don't know, I feel like I'm just.
No, okay, well, I'm willing to tell on myself in this conversation. So I'm going to let Dr. Erica, because I kind of broached this a little bit before we got started about just at this age, I'm beginning to recognize some things, stepping back and looking in the mirror. But like you said, everyone may not be ready to do that. So what would you say? Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like can they step back and recognize a pattern that doesn't allow them to be fulfilled with the connections that they're making?
Yeah. People can step back and do that. I think the question has to do with one's capacity to do that. I mean, it's layered. To Tori's point, it's a big question. It's layered because it's like, what's someone's capacity to be able to do that? To Tori's point, do they have community? Iron sharpens iron. Certainly my chosen family, my friends do that for me, and I do that for them. How defended might someone be from like really doing that introspective work and considering what's the role that I play in relationships, right? And that can connect to the trauma that someone's experienced, whether it's from their family of origin or in other relationships. It takes, Dee, I think that you maybe aren't giving yourself enough credit because I don't think it's just about age. I think it takes a very secure person to be able to examine, secure, confident, a person that's able to say, I can go that deep and look at like the shadowy parts of me. And I'm confident that like, I'll be able to recover. And I think that that's an exceptional feature, Dee. So again, I think that people can, and I think it is exceptional. And there are many good reasons why people maybe don't as much as they could.
And I think I started down this path because, okay, so there's the self-reflection about, is it them or is it me? But I think there's another ghost, and that is the appearance of connection. So I'm with people. I enjoy people. I'm active. And so I'm surrounded, I people. Those of us who are introverts that are like, I'm peopled out, when you're peopling, you may not recognize that there's something missing, a depth. What I think that's the difference, as we were talking about before, acquaintance versus friends. What are the markings of friends? And sometimes I think that's, for me, in a social media, virtual connection, sometimes you do find your people. And sometimes I didn't recognize it until I started having real issues. And I'm like, who do you talk to? Who do you become vulnerable with to share this if I have all these friends? Okay, so that
I think, honestly, it takes a long time for someone to truly be a friend. And I say that, and I'm separating that on purpose from acquaintance, because, and this is just my value system, and y'all feel free, I'd be interested in hearing your perspectives. I think that friends are like people that, you know, if their back is up against the wall, what they would do. If your back is up against the wall, what you would do. That like know your beautiful parts and your warts and still like you, you know, and still enjoy you and appreciate you. There are people that like you can say, okay, when a storm hits, maybe they're not perfect, but you're able to say, all right, I know what to expect from you when the storm hits, and I choose your friendship in the midst of that. It is, I feel like it's so important to be able to make that separation. In some other spaces, they might, I feel like I've heard like at church, inner circle versus outer circle. And so that's the delineation that I'm making, to really be able to identify who are my inner circle, the people that are closest, the stakes are down people, so that there's not this disappointment if you turn to the people that are in the outer circle. And that's by like no fault of theirs. Maybe it's just time. You know, maybe it's just the depth of experiences between the two of you aren't there, you know, because it's important to be able to say, I'm not going to go to the outer circle people and possibly get disappointed. They might, you know, be different than what you would think an outer circle person might be. But to say like, I am not going to try to pull from the outer circle folks, the people that I don't know as well, the stuff that I know I can get from the inner circle people. And maybe the inner circle people are not in your geographical location. Maybe the inner circle, that's a beautiful thing about the technological world that we live in, is that your circle, nobody's ever too far away these days, not emotionally, not mentally, physically. Yeah, but you know, the stuff we're talking about is stuff that doesn't necessarily need folks to like tactilely, you know, be there near you.
Come on, Tori. I don't know. Maybe this is an introvert to an extrovert conversation. Are we all introverts? How? I mean, because friendship makes you vulnerable to shame, to feeling, how are they going to think about me when I tell them, and then into the future. I got scammed. I'm trying to think of move abroad stuff that, look, you need a set of folks that you can be honest with. My money didn't come through this month, and like the reason why I'm not participating isn't because I'm trying to be funny, but my money funny right now. I'm not asking for anything, but maybe sometimes you might need to. I'm talking about this friendship conversation. I don't want people to think that this is a theoretical conversation. One of the things that Adelia Aborshade, Picky Girls Travels the World, talks about is you need your people. When you are leaving the US, hopefully you got your people in the US. And the way that she defines your people are, this is somebody that you have given access, independent of you, to your home. They know where to find your documents. They know how to call your family members if you're in an accident. Friendship, I think, is kind of take it or leave it when we're here in the States, because you probably have a few options. I'm talking about you're now actively vetting people to be a part of your circle. And there are consequences when you don't, to your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, your survival. Do people notice when you are less visible? Somebody come to check on you, you're sick, and or have had, I had a friend whose father passed, and she's like, we talk every day. He hasn't answered my call. I call different times of day and night. She had a welfare check done because she was thousands of miles away from her father. Who's going to be the people that check in on you? Adelia says, if there's an earthquake, who's going to notice you are not, that you're missing? I'm not just talking about your this is sometimes connected to my survival, connected to my well-being. And I'm going to share something. I don't mean to take up all the space, but I think this might be the point to share it. Herman and I, my husband and I, had been married about 10 years. I took an opportunity to work in DC. He's hundreds of miles away. So I'm just, getting the opportunity. I'm so excited. I'm looking for places to live. I'm looking at, my transportation from home to work. I'm worried about all these logistics. I get there. He makes sure that I'm set up. And then we go a month. I talk to him every day. When he came a month later, I realized I had not touched another human being outside of a handshake in a month. And there's lots of research studies that talk about the power of a hug, a human touch. And I'm not a toucher per se, but when you're in my friend category, we're going to hug. We're going to be emotionally at some capacity available to each other. And I think in the move abroad space, we're not considering how impactful going deeper than I can hit you up on Facebook. I can hit you up on WhatsApp. If you're in a pinch, you need to have some people. I'm at the airport, my flight got delayed. I'm stuck in so-and-so and so place. You know anybody? Like, these are practical skills. These are reasons why you make those connections, not because it serves you, but because it's necessary. Anybody want to dive into that?
I mean, you're so right. You're bringing to light a lot of things that I think we just take for granted, either from a standpoint of how society has changed, right? And we're more of a global society now, and there's all these different ways to connect, and there's these more prevalent ways we connect, right? Like we're connecting right now. And so you're talking about being more intentional. Maybe that's going back to something that before we didn't have to be intentional about, it just was, right? And so that's why it's important to talk about this on platforms like this too, because you don't know what you don't know. One, if you've taken that connection for granted and then you just move abroad, you may not have planned for that. Or if you come from, a place, a part of town, a very connected family, you may have taken that for granted and not realized, oh, I need to build this for myself now. So yeah, you're really shedding some light on some important things.
Yeah. I'm thinking about like the idea of travel and how I personally have made connections, and the idea of emergencies. And I have had emergencies, frankly, in this past year, quite a few of them. And so what I would say is that I think that when I travel with like, I think a collectivist African type of mindset, which is, I always know wherever I go, find the Black women, finds Black women. And if you find Black women, you're going to be covered usually for a whole host of things. During my travels, I have had Black women show up that I didn't know well, that I actually wouldn't call friends. But just on the strength of Blackness, on the strength of we are sisters. Sister, what happens? Somebody passed away, what you need, housing situation, we're going to come over there and move you. Don't even know them for maybe more than 4 hours previously. But on the strength of sisterhood, like this as Black women, I think is like what we do. And I think also maybe it's something that I take for granted, back to the idea of energetically. I would like to think that I show up that way also for the Black women around me. That is like, I don't need to know you. I don't even really need to know you like, well, if you have an emergency, what you need, if I got it, and I don't think you're a scammer, but if I got it, right? If I got it, sis, I got you, right? There's, and that may sound strange. And I think that, maybe sometimes there's been points where I've overextended, just that part of me with people that it's like, you didn't really know them that well and you gave them housing or whatever, but I would still do it 9 times out of 10, again, on the strength of sisterhood and Blackness. Like, I just think that there's a way that we have to show up in this world, the idea of we all we got.
I'm so glad that you brought up that I don't have to be deep. It doesn't always have to be deep. And I think what I want people to come away with is the mindset that we don't really have community like we had community. I would never go to my neighbor across the street or next door and ask for a cup of sugar or a cup of flour or an egg, but I cannot tell you the number of times my mama said, go to Miss Doreen's house. She called and me and her son, one of her kids, would come and meet me in the middle of the street to share. Like, that's not even, I remember, my grandmother saying she had 10 kids and the kids in the neighborhood were her kids too. If we eat, we all eat. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like the individualism that we currently live in, we have to be encouraged to make whatever level of connection that feels safest to you, and that it must be intentional. I can join a Facebook group, a WhatsApp group, all of these virtual communities, but if I don't connect in some way, see myself, when you said Black women, I'm not gonna lie. I would never have met Sabangle, who is, we don't retire, we ascend. I never would have met her without being in a community. And we intentionally, I didn't even meet her until we were in the airport and she said, we're going to the same place. And we were like, well, then you come in with us. I mean, like, that is what we do. That is just what we do. And until I see something that says I'm in danger or my people are in danger, like, we down for whatever we're down with for for the season or for this situation. And I feel like I'm better for it, but there is a struggle within me of safety, of paranoia, as she was saying. You don't want everybody to be privy, but if you don't raise your hand, people don't know you need help. And find a way to connect that sits with your personality, that may sit with your temperament. You don't have to tell everybody everything, but don't be out, I say don't be out here suffering in silence when there is the opportunity for a level of connection that can be important to enhancing this important leap, whether it is taking time to travel or moving abroad. I think it is, friendship is the unspoken part that I think we have to, if I struggle here, then I'm going to struggle there. If I can look around and I can't say that I have people that there are things I won't tell my mama that I'll tell, a girlfriend. There are things that that maybe I need to prep up with the sister or with my sister before I talk to my husband about it. Y'all don't, emotional connection, social connection is vital. And I'm going to give another example. I'm in several Black women's groups, and we have talked about safety, and people have shared what is happening. Like, I got robbed by this this rideshare driver. This is the current scam. Be safe out here. I don't want to always bring danger into it, but where to nail places? Where can I get my hair done? Like, that is a level of social connection. I don't think trying to find a doctor, Subangale knows my struggle. I'm looking for a doctor that I can trust. I don't know these women, but I will get in a group and say, why do you like your doctor? I need a doctor that does this. Why do you like your doctor? Tori, did you want to add anything to this? Because it's touching a place in me, because I think there is a contrast with how I live now and how I want to live. If I'm building out the capacity to say joy is everywhere, I think friendship for me is a part of the joy that I want to capture more intentionally.
Well, and I think, this, you started out talking about maybe it being your age, right? And I think, well, that's one part of it. We are at an age where we're starting to reprioritize, right? And then being in this move abroad space, transitioning from the US to moving abroad presents a very unique opportunity to shed all those things, right? If you're like me, you grew up being taught not to air your dirty laundry, right? You were taught what goes on in this house stays in this house, right? And so that is easy to carry into relationships, right? And not being vulnerable enough to ask for help. And then here we are, all trying to move abroad, having this thing in common, but also it's that opportunity to decolonize the way we think about our relationships too, to start to realize things could be different. Maybe those survival skills I was taught before and they were adaptive over here are not going to work over here. And so I think it's all the gift of the transition, right? It's the gift of the growth. And that transition is going to bring up all those uncomfortable feelings for a purpose, right? It's to get us to face ourselves in the mirror and ask, well, what is actually going on here?
another concept. there's a lot of changing and transformations happening in here, but one of them will be my identity. I don't know if everybody's going to center this, but if you are retiring, there's an identity shift. I was a postal worker, a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, an attorney, and that is not what I lead with. One of the questions that I've heard Rashida say that people, you can tell who's from the States, is what do you do? And like in other parts of the world, that is not who are you? Who are you is a part of that conversation. So yeah, like the transition of your identity can, what do you call that? I feel like your identity may communicate who you are, your status, your like, and then we're not necessarily always doing it like that in this new space.
Yeah, Tori, what Tori just said made me like apply this idea of decolonizing your identity. Like how much of your identity is caught in like Eurocentric, patriarchal, capitalist trappings. And what was the usefulness of leading with the what do you do? Now I claim Philadelphia as home. And we say, at least my crew in Philadelphia, we say, it's almost a social faux pas to ask what people do. Yeah, in at least with my crew in Philly. So we said that's like, oh, not the what do you do question. And I think part of it was in a group full of Black people, at least with my folks back there, it felt like it set up this within group and outside group and like trying to determine class levels that we were all like, let's not, and it's not something that we've ever sat down and talked about, but it was like this collective understanding of like, can we not do that to each other? Can we just be in this space with each other? And I guess the last thing I'll say is we are so much more than Eurocentric capitalism wants to tell us that we are. And that our value relationally to each other is so much more than that. And that as a people, I said this last thing I was going to say, but I got another last thing. That, our people truly like, I know when I am doing consultations with clients that like Black folks do not care about the letters behind my name and this, they care about, can I feel you? And I think that when we're in spaces like that and the idea of decolonizing how we show up with our identity to new people, like, imagine if we just said, my only task in this space is to see, like, if there are people that I can really feel and to make sure that, like, I am positioning myself to that piece so that people can feel me. That's my only task in this new space or in this new relationship.
Yes, Kim. Yes, Kim. Yes. I can feel you, Dr. Erica. I can feel you, Tori. I'm serious. That's how I know a place is my place. And that's because I've opened myself up to feeling. Which brings me back to the friendship part of this conversation. Some people, like, what do you say? Everything isn't for everybody. Everybody isn't for everybody. But I don't necessarily have to like you to be respectful, to be helpful, to be kind. And so some people get certain things and other people get other things. Healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries when you talked about extending yourself. Trying not to live in regret means I do this without the expectation of expecting something in return. So if I lend somebody money, it's never going to be lending somebody money. I don't expect to get this back. And so if I'm using that as my, what do you call that? As my, as the level, then I'm not going to give you more than what I'm going to be angry with later. To be straight up honest. If I find that you went and bought yourself a pair of red bottoms, then that was what I was willing to give. And you could do whatever with whatever resource I shared with you. And I think I feel like as I have become more honest with myself, I don't feel like going, or I'm ready to go, or, whatever in between, I'm okay with saying no. That level of honesty that continues to resound in myself, I feel like I'm feeling safer within myself, extending myself into friendships. That's the work I had to do within myself. Are there any other areas where people can begin to, like we talked about, boundaries, or there are other areas that you feel like, hey, if you are creating the trial run of making connections on this upcoming scouting trip, or you're going on a girlfriend's trip with people who are not currently your girlfriends, a girl trip, but I want to try out what it could mean to connect with other people. And then I'm going to hit those of us who are introverts, who are plain and simple. We love ourselves and being alone. Like, what are their motivators? Are there opportunities we're not taking to create safe connections? So you all can cover one or both of those in your comments.
You mean, are we avoiding making those connections?
Could people be avoiding making the connections, or feeling like I'm satisfied here, but I'm willing to kind of get out there? But I'm happy. My happy place is, as I said, in my corner with my crochet, with my sewing machine and fabric. But this conversation is opening a window to some additional opportunities that might be an enhancement to my life.
Sure. Well, and like you said, it does start with that security in yourself, I think. Doing anything new is going to be uncomfortable to an extent, right? And then when we're talking about relationships and the vulnerability it takes to enter into one, right? Then that security in and of yourself, to know, to be able to have confidence in yourself, to be able to say, no, I'm not going to do that activity, right? Or I'm good, or just to be able to interact with someone very authentically, right? Yeah, that takes a lot of self-confidence. And so I don't know, Dr. Erica, I know I'm not really answering Dee's question, but that's just kind of what was coming up for me right now.
I'm gonna take a stab at trying to answer it, and Dee, let me know. I'm one of the biggest introverts ever. After we talk, I won't talk to another soul for the rest of the night. So happily will not talk to another soul. But I think that when I have traveled, how I have been able to honor my introversion, because I also think there's something about US culture that is like, doesn't honor introversion. It's like extroverts get rewarded, and that's aspirationally who we're all supposed to be socially. But how I bridged my introversion is like, I will do adult coloring books. And I'll take them to a coffee shop and I'll put my headphones in and just happily be listening to my music, coloring, got my little puppy with me. And when I tell you that idea that I talked about earlier about like, if you're just happy in yourself, people just come up and start talking to me. I literally had somebody, I was just coloring and they said, our family walked by you and said, you just so much positivity. I was like, I'm just minding my business over here, coloring, doing my thing. And so I guess for the introverts, I would say, is there a way to like take your introverted activity to not a completely isolated place sometimes, and what might organically happen if you just do that? The other thing is like introverts, we can do a little bit of peopling. And so, it's not that we don't like people, right? It's not that we don't like people, but being very intentional about not completely retreating into that bubble, that comfortable, I'm totally fine bubble, and saying, okay, I know this is going to be a heavy lift, but for this finite amount of time, I can do this activity, I can do this hobby, I can go out with this group, I can, I'm going to force myself this many times a week. Because honestly, sometimes introverts have to be that intentional. Like, I'm going to make sure I connect with people at least this many times. I'm saying one because that's usually, I'm good with that. I told you I'm a big introvert. And so, like finding a way to honor yourself, but maybe not in complete seclusion all the time. I don't know if I answer your question, Dee.
Yeah, however it comes up for you guys. Doing something that I love in community with other people, even if I don't have something to say that I feel comfortable or that I desire to jump into the conversation. The reason why I know connection, the coming out of isolation, I'll say it that way. I'm a doula, a birth doula. And one of the studies, when I first started doing this work 12 years ago, talked about the benefits of having someone with you when you're birthing. So the more likely that if a woman arrived alone in labor, which please y'all don't do that. Please don't labor alone, go through your pregnancy alone. But it didn't even need to be a trained person. They never even needed to talk to them. Could have a positive impact on their patient satisfaction, on the length of their labor. There were several things. And I was just like, sharing a space with someone had that much of a charted improvement in the labor and personal satisfaction with the experience. It didn't even need to be someone that was there for a purpose. And that's what I think sometimes friendships are, is like you have a purpose, but like you said, it is when I am alone, I'm going to get my food to go and go back to my room. When you were saying that, I was like, oh, that is so me. And so when I go on these trips, I have to define for myself, one of these days, I'm going to sit in the food court and eat my food just to be near people, not necessarily because I'm going to gain anything from it. It's just making myself available. I'm hoping that that's what people are hearing, is making yourself available means sometimes it can mean recognizing that I am pulling away. Especially when you're going to a country where you don't speak the language, that is a big deal. Even if you've taken language lessons before and you don't have confidence, which is me, I'm going to tend to not try to interact because I'm fearful that I won't say it correctly, they won't understand me. The fear of rejection is a part of what may make people disconnect from friendships or acquaintanceships. I don't want you to think that there's a perfect way. What I'm hoping that people are doing is trying. The try is sometimes you do what's comfortable for you in an available space, and then you can make simple connect. Ooh, some people don't get down with small talk. Sometimes you got to start with small talk. What questions would you have for someone? If you are the person talking most of the time in a conversation, then maybe the balance of that is, I'm going to have 3 questions I'm going to ask a new person before I share anything about myself. I think even these little experiments in learning what works and what doesn't work, perfection is not. If you're looking for friends, there's no perfection. I'm willing to get it wrong so that I can get it right. Any other words of encouragement where people can celebrate the try when they are making new steps with new people that they are within proximity of in the move abroad space, or just practicing these skills before they leave?
The big thing for me that came out in what you said was just giving yourself grace and self-compassion. You know, we're at this age where we have either started the process or we're heavy into the process of parenting our own self, right? Learning how to meet all of our own needs and do it in a way that's kind and compassionate. And so I would say, yeah, there are no rules. There's no perfection to follow here. You know, it's about taking a chance and having that grace with yourself. It's not going to be smooth and easy all the time. You know?
I would offer that when you're traveling, like, I assume that part of why you're traveling is for the adventure and the exploration. And that as you meet people and as you're curious about the world, assume that people are curious about you and that you just being you has inherent value to them, as does them being them. And just have an assumption that there is this natural good intentioned human curiosity. And I know that that stands in the face of the trauma that, you know, many of us experienced in the US context, you know, but take the risk, because in my travels, 9 times out of 10, there is this good intentioned, exploratory, just basic curiosity. Like, who's this person from this place? What's your story? What you doing here? Let's chat. And those have been some of the most enriching parts of my travels. Just the random conversations. We don't know why we're talking to each other, but now I'm learning so much from you. And like the way that you can be stretched by folks in this world and the way that you can make connections, it is, I think, a lot more like as humans, more intuitive than maybe we can give ourselves credit for. And that is from an introvert's perspective.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know. The curiosity for sure. The curiosity for sure. Kim, you are never late, darling. You are never late. Yeah, so you can be good at certain things and developing others, but yeah, ooh, what do you call that? Navigating others' expectations. We did dabble a little bit into that, but also my expectations on a friendship. Let's see. So another example, I infuse real life. This is not a theoretical. I didn't have an idea that this person wanted to do more than just casual conversation until I overheard some conversations that they were having about their connection to me. And I've also witnessed it. Oh gosh. Okay. So if you hear H laughing out loud in the background, it's because there was a friend of ours when we were much younger who said, so-and-so says that I'm their best friend. Like, whoos. Being very honest about what makes you uncomfortable. It is not always gone very well for me. I remember a friend saying, every time I'm talking with you, you seem to be in movement. What is up with you not wanting to sit still and talk to me? And I'm like, ma'am, I have ADHD. If you're okay with getting a 10-minute conversation with me, I can sit still. But otherwise, I'm going to be moving around. I'm going to be, doing little things. I'm paying attention. I'm tracking the conversation. You haven't lost me. I'm not disconnected. But to sit, and those are limits I've had to give myself grace for, and create the, what do you call it? To create the, it's not you, this is how I operate. But when she said it, if that's how I need to show up, where you feel connected, am I willing? And I said, yes, I'm willing. If you can't be honest with people about that, maybe you're able to better set your expectations based on your willingness to give or receive that honesty. Anybody else want to comment on Kim's comment?
Well, sure. And that even touches on that idea that we make up stories about other people's behavior that may or may not be true. I'm glad your friend felt like she could bring it up. Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm glad that you felt like you could share your truth and your honesty with it. But yeah, it's very easy to interpret someone else's behavior through whatever lens we happen to be carrying that we've grown up with. Right. And that's why expectations are so tricky, dangerous, even. Yeah. And then there's the beauty of the friendship, right? The mirror for you to know how your activity was being received by her. Right. And then for her to have the opportunity to know, oh, the story I was telling myself about Dee's movement is not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm. I would like to talk about the part of not putting an expectation of friendship to other people. Because for me, I talked about the inner circle versus outer circle. I do not have an expectation of friendship from the outer circle people, the people that I don't know as well. But I unapologetically will tell close friends, if I'm in the hospital, I expect you Like, I do have an expectation that you call. If I'm down bad, I do have a certain set of expectations for a certain small, curated through the years group of people. And I think that that's okay. I think that I think that's standards. And it's not transactional, but it is this like standard of, Bell Hooks talks about in Sisters of the Yam, this idea of I believe in reciprocal relationships. And so I believe in getting back the care that I put into people. And so there's a certain level of care that I put into the people that are closest to me. And I believe that they should have a certain expectation of me, but not the outer circle people. That would be a lot. If they show up, and sometimes they do show up, that's cool. But that's not an expectation of them.
Exactly.
Well, and you're communicating too, your expectations for your inner circle. That's an open conversation. It's not just assumed or implied.
Yeah, it's unapologetic. It's with a little big mama edge to it, Tori. And I accept y'all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lori, I know vibes with this conversation. She says she's good at small talk, but initiating conversation with strangers, I am just not that curious about strangers. And I live with somebody who will talk to a stranger. And I'm just like,
now, if they have a book or a dog, I will talk to a stranger. But that's it.
Yeah, I had a really cool experience in Mexico City. When I see Black people, I just naturally smile and say hi. Just wherever I'm like, hi, how you doing, kinfolk? And ran into this woman and her daughter and her granddaughter. And we ended up having the most wonderful lunch together. Fascinating people. The daughter turned out to be a former backup dancer for a very popular rap artist these days. And just sitting with these people, I hadn't been walking around with a smile just saying hi to Black people. I wouldn't have had these people that I'm still connected with, and just broken bread and had great conversations. And so again, that points that assume natural curiosity when you're out in this travel world. People are usually more open than I think folks realize.
yeah, I have the things that it feels safe talking about.
Yep.
Have the things, kind of be ready. But yeah, I mean, and when you're at your limit, it's okay to say, thank you, I'm moving forward. There's no penalty for being at your capacity. So I'm so glad. I love what Sabangale put. She was like, here's to finding our tribe for sure. For sure. I think that there are enough people on the planet that you're going to find your people, your small group. And I think, like you said, there is an inner group of folk that are going to get the full authentic you. And then there's the outer circles of people. My employer will never know me personally. People at my job are not my friends. That's the stance that I've taken, for a variety of reasons. But people have different boxes and places in your life. Make sure that they're well matched and that you're not leaving the possibility of connection on whatever level you feel comfortable on the table. I'm going to make sure that I put Shasta Nelson's book in the description, because I want to know about all these friend categories that Tori mentioned earlier, but that the possibilities that we experience within connection. I'm going to find out what you do. It's not because I want to, it's not a status thing, but I hope to connect. I feel like that's my superpower is, oh, so-and-so does that. You're looking for that. I know somebody that does it. That is just, I almost want to say that's my ministry. It's making sure that I know what people are good at, what they are interested in, what they're looking for, because I'm always putting a pin in who I know or where I've been able to make a connection so that that I can bring people together. That's the hospitality spirit of my grandmothers, my great grandmother. That is a part of the gift I hope to continue to give to the community or communities that we join abroad. So, any final words, ladies, as we tie up this conversation? Say hello to Servant Teacher Nikki for all of the beautiful comments that you all are making. And I'm going to go ahead and show this so that folks can see it if you're joining now. Friendships don't just happen and frenemies. So any final words, ladies?
If I see you on the street, say hi.
And I would say, create, like Dee said, create your safe actions that you can take. Create your safe container. Create a container that you feel safe stretching and growing inside of, and going past your comfort zone just a little bit.
Absolutely. And Dr. Joy Harden Bradford is
Therapy for Black girls.
Therapy for Black girls. I was like, it was on the perimenopause.
Right.
Will bring,
I got you, girl.
Will bring women together, Black women together. It will bring us together. So thank you for standing in the gap when it just left my brain. But yes, Therapy for Black Girls podcast. She's got a beautiful online platform. If there are places that that friendship touches an unhealed part of you, please work with a licensed therapist, a coach to work toward your healing. Dr. Erica, last comments.
Yeah, I just think that this humans and connections are such a part of like the travel experience, maybe right under food for me in the travels. And so I firmly do believe that Black women, if you find Black women, even if they don't turn out to be friends, you most times will find kinfolk in the travel streets, and that will cover you. That I think is a type of like social travel insurance that we culturally have. And so just trust the kinfolk network. It is vast. It is oftentimes solid. We got you.
100%. 100%. I am so thankful for both of you all. I am hopeful that Courtney is recovering, is doing well. So if y'all want to see more of this little get together of sisterhood, please, in the comments, give us some more ideas about things that we can talk about together. We had the marriage and family therapist on today. So why don't we start? Tori, I put in the description your soft community.
The soft landing circle. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the soft landing circle. Yeah. Can you tell folks how to follow you, reach out to you, and join your community? And I'm going to ask Erica to do the same.
Sure. I've been in conversation for several weeks now with Black women moving abroad and uncovering the emotional, baggage that we're packing that we don't realize is there until it's too late, right? And just navigating that roller coaster of starting over. So I've created the soft landing circle. I'm getting feedback from actual women who are going through it about what they want and need for a space like this. And my hope is that since they want it ASAP, my hope is that we can get this off the ground by the end of the month. It's an online community. It's not on a social media website. We will have some live conversations and some asynchronous, meaning not live, you can join on demand type of activities. We're building it out now. So just if you want to get on that wait list and be notified when the doors open, then click that link. It's a bit.ly link, soft landing waitlist.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, so I work with individuals, couples, families, all virtually. I currently have 3 different types of, I call them micro support circles. The first is a micro support circle for Black women who are struggling with imposter syndrome. And it has been such a lovely journey. And the idea that some of the stuff that we touched on tonight in terms of community, just the healing that can come from being in community with people, it's wonderful. I also have a micro support circle for expats and for people wanting to expatriate. And lastly, I am launching a micro support circle for clinicians who are looking for support from other clinicians in navigating these political times. Ain't none of us trained to get through these and to support people during these political times. And so creating community for clinicians to be able to touch base with each other. Part of the ideology of me creating these circles was also being cognizant of these financial times. And so the circles literally allow me to offer people support with maybe a quarter of what I would normally charge individuals, couples, and families. And so trying to just get support to people on various levels and make it affordable. Oh, and you can,
oh, go ahead.
My email, sorry, is drwilkinslmft@gmail. My IG is the first part of that. So drwilkinslmft. You can find me on Instagram.
I'll make sure that I update the description to add both of those. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all, we are built for connection. That is a personal belief. I think that whatever the creator, the divine, I believe that we're built for connection, and that systems and experiences have tried to take that away. We've talked about decolonizing social connection and the way that we show up in the world. I didn't get here by myself is something that I heard from my parents, and that if there is something you don't struggle with, that you see another sister struggling with. I love how Stephanie says, she was like, if you're an introvert, put yourself in the proximity of extroverts and they will just bring you right along. Like you don't even have to, like, it's like a river. You just get in the stream and they'll just take you right along as far as you want to go. And then you dip off until you're ready to enter the river again of social connection. And I hope that as we have discussed this, that you have heard to honor your feelings. If you feel unsafe, threatened, unhealed, we respect that. What we're asking you to do is to recognize and be on a healing journey of introspection. Tori talked about the mirror. We are a group that says having a coach or a therapist to help you understand why this is touching this hurtful, harmful place in you and how to heal that. If you don't know where to start, I have a desire, but I want to move forward with more than just I want to, but I'm moving into those. But I know my trigger areas. If you're that person, you're just like, look, I'm just a yes. People have a need and I'm built to give. I want to get better at setting healthier boundaries. You're not alone. We showed some book resources these two ladies, Courtney's information, Courtney Leach's information is in the description. They're people who understand you and your desire to travel and move abroad. Take advantage, leverage these resources so that the spirit of curiosity is lit, is continued to be lit and grow in you. I'm thankful for the ladies who showed up today. Thank you, Angela, for saying that this is a beautiful conversation. I'm glad the ladies have returned. A description in the description box is our first conversation where we talked about just the healing, crying in paradise. You take you with you. I love Dr. Erica saying that and bringing that forward. So thank you all so much for spending time with us this evening. Bye for now.